of the Simply Rogue podcast. I'm your host, Ross. Today we have got Jay.
Hello.
How are we doing, Jay?
Spot on.
And another special guest, we've got Brad Tarren.
How we doing?
How we doing, Brad?
Very good, mate. Thank you.
So, firstly, welcome to the show, mate.
Listen, I'm going to try my best here to keep a straight face. I'm going to try and be as serious as I possibly can, but I appreciate having me on. I really respect what you're doing. You know, this is jumping out of the comfort zone for you, I'm sure. But the magic happens outside the comfort zone, Rossi, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. We're going to get into this motivational shit, by the way. But no, it's a proper pleasure having you on, mate, and it's a pleasure to have you back in Darlington.
It's not often I'm back in Darlington, only for special occasions, and I class this as a special occasion.
There we go. How are you doing today, Jay?
Terrific.
Yeah?
Absolutely terrific.
Good week at work?
Good as it can be.
Yeah, that's the one. So obviously, Brad, you're fully living in Newcastle. You have been for, what?
13 years now.
13 years.
That makes me feel very old. 13 years in a different city.
Yeah, so I mean, that was like obviously uni and then stayed there, wasn't it?
So yeah, the original motivation to move to Newcastle was university. Even though I didn't want to go, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I just ended up doing a BTEC in sports science at college, come to the end of it, and the option was to go to university. And I never thought myself as a university person. But I had nothing else planned, so I thought, you know what, let's give it a go. And I managed to pull out of the bag to get the grades I needed to get the UCAS points to get in Northumberland University, and that was my first choice. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
And like I said, even though university wasn't something I wanted to do, it was a great experience. And that's what I would suggest to anyone who's, you know, a little bit unsure about their future path. If you want to open up and broaden your horizons, university is one of the best things you can do, because you just meet such an array of different people from different parts of the world. And that was a sort of springboard for my life that I live now and my, you know, career. Even though the sports science that I learned at university, not really relevant to the coaching that I teach now, but like I said, it gave me that springboard, and it was the beginning of me developing my network. And I feel networking is one of the most valuable assets you can have when it comes to any type of business, especially as a self-employed personal trainer.
100%. I mean, it comes back to that saying, it's not what you know till you know, innit?
Exactly.
And that's obviously, university was that beginning to, you're obviously living in Darlow to learn, and then when you go there, you just explode and just start meeting people every day, and you're having to like sort of work in different circles so quickly and stuff like that. So, and
it just like, because you do meet people that are outside of your town, so you meet people from different parts of the world, and I think that definitely broadens your mind, broadens your horizons, and on top of the learning that you've got to do, that's a part of going to university, by the way, you're going out a lot and you're having a very good time, and for the first 2 years at uni, like if you do decide to go to uni, don't take this as gospel, but you can mess about for the first 2 years.
That 40% pass rate in the first year.
As long as you pass them first 2 years, then your final year can determine your full grade if you stick in. So obviously, that's what I did. Left it all to the last minute. Done pretty well from university, and...
Did you go down the sport route? Was that just because, like, we've talked about this before in a few episodes, where like when you're younger, when you don't know what to do, you just go into sports, because you just if you're all right at sports at that age, you just continue it, don't you?
That's it. I mean, I started to, so from the age of 17, that's when my fitness journey began. And
is that when you first started getting into the gym and that?
That's right. So I realised I wasn't going to be a professional footballer.
By the way, Brad, this like the size of Brad now, Jay, is like half the size he used to be, and I mean half.
And that's right. I used to be. I mean, from the age of 14, I was always a tall kid, but I was like more like a beanpole, and I was always athletic, and I've always loved activity and sports. And I just thought, when I was 17, I wasn't playing football anymore. I need some physical activity to put myself in, because I need to expend energy. And you know, I joined the gym, and as shallow as it sounds, the reason I joined the gym in the first place was to do better with the women. As shallow as that is. But I was 17, you know, like a skinny rake, And yeah, I mean, I started the fitness journey then.
I actually started hairdressing for the exact same reason.
And how's that going for you, mate?
Well, I do see men every day now. So it's kind of backfired, like, to be honest. But yeah, as shameful it is, the first move into hairdressing was like, yeah, I can talk to women all day, every day. Yeah.
Sounds good. So that was the shallow beginnings. But that was the...
But look at the shallow beginnings for you, shallow beginnings for me. Both have led all right.
Exactly.
Chase your tail.
Exactly. Listen to your knob. Maybe don't, not all the time. You know, you've got to use your brain sometimes. So yeah, that was the beginning. And, you know, it spiked my interest straight away because I already had an interest in the human anatomy. And my human anatomy was my project. You know, as I started to see results... Bear in mind, I was clueless in the beginning. And, you know, the exercise that I knew were bench press and bicep curls.
Yeah.
And that
every day. Yeah.
That was working well for me, you know, like I was getting a big chest, big biceps.
Oh, he was a chesty man. He still is a chesty man.
A chesty old man.
You want to see the ass in it, no, man.
But yeah, I mean, my sort of, my big source of information at that time was Men's Health magazine.
Right.
And that was gospel to me.
Fucking showed his age there. He's
I
reading
know,
magazines.
Men's Health. So this was my routine.
There was no internet on the 3310s, like.
So I was, you know, reading Men's Health magazine. You know, they were telling me what to do, what to eat, what not to eat. And I was just doing it. And over time, I realised, you know, Men's Health offered pretty... lot of conflicting information. So one week it'd tell you that avocados are the best thing since sliced bread, and the week after they're going to kill you. Like, that's an extreme example. But then I started to see this and I realised, you know, you shouldn't believe everything you read without looking into it with a little bit more depth. And this is how my interest spiked with how I was going to develop myself.
If you were picking that up from just the first few magazines you were reading, that basically there's no right or wrong way straight away, I think that sets the sort of standard of how you then learn and delivered your teaching from then, really.
Of course it does, because another thing as well, different protocols work for different people. And, you know, without me even realising it, this was sort of me developing as what I am now, as a personal trainer. And in the beginning, it was just a hobby for me to, you know, do my research, and then implement my research into my own physical practice. And this was a process which, I mean, even when I graduated from university, that sort of refined my ability to research. And yeah, I started to build myself. Not that I wanted to bodybuild, I just wanted to
experiment what you were learning, which is something massive with personal trainers, which, I mean, for me, right, if I'm going to get taught of someone, especially a personal trainer, they have to be in the best nick that I've seen. They've got to be.
Well, you're not going to listen to a big fat hole.
No, you're not, are you?
He's not going to get you fit if he's fat himself,
to put it eloquently, yes, you're not going to listen to a fat hole. No, definitely not. But, like, if you're learning all these things, you've got to try them on yourself 100%. So that when you teach them to someone else, you know what's going to happen to the body.
And you know what it took? I mean, you're exactly right what you're saying. Like, you've got to be, especially as a personal trainer and as a hairdresser, you've got to be your own walking advertisement, you know. And if someone is out of shape, you know, they might be out of shape for a reason, but if someone out of shape is trying to give you advice on how to be in shape, it's like a poor man telling you how to become rich.
Yeah, perfect.
And
how many people do that as well?
I know.
There's another one.
So, like, a lot of it was trial and error. And, you know, this sort of experimentation of me developing myself, not just for muscle mass, not just for aesthetic purposes, but to become a better athlete with my fitness components. So I'll be, you know, as bigger, stronger, faster, more agile. And what was sort of driven by aesthetic purposes to look good, you know, that's the way it sort of molded me for graduated from university at 24. And, you know, that's when training started to become serious, about 24, 25. And then I went down the path of, like I say, I wouldn't say bodybuilding, because I don't class myself as a bodybuilder. I never classed myself as a bodybuilder. But I was a practitioner who was interested in the concepts of bodybuilding. And because my fitness journey, my fitness career started 2 years after I graduated, just like you said before, I needed to be a walking advertisement for my business. And this
Yeah,
was
you were building your physique. You weren't like, you don't class yourself as a bodybuilder, but you were still doing the exact same things that a bodybuilder is known to do.
100%. And I wanted to be in shape, you know, for numerous reasons. And it just made me feel good about myself. And, you know, if I feel fit, strong and healthy, it's projected into other aspects of my life. You know, if I feel good about myself, then my work ethic is improved. You know, my energy levels are increased and my motivation and drive is increased. So all sort of comes hand in hand. And I mean, this also shows my age. So like, this is the time Instagram became a thing. You know, like
2 years after you finished uni.
Exactly. So like, this is when Instagram was in its infancy. And, you know, as per...
What did you do the 2 years in between uni and starting?
Live like a student without being a student. But look, I wouldn't change that because, you know...
This is where, when we talk about networking, Brad put some serious work into networking, yeah. And I think he's pretty much... He knows the full of Newcastle now. Or they know him anyway.
That's
a big presence around town for it. Yeah.
And Newcastle, I mean, it is a social city. Like, if anyone,
you can go out every night.
Best city in the world.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. You know. He asked me the other week,
like, because
he was like, everywhere I've been in the world, Dubai, Australia, America. He was like, "Where's your best night out?" And he was saying it was client. I just went, "Newcastle." He went, "What?" I went, "Listen," I said, "I've had my best nights in Newcastle."
There's nothing like it.
It's Miami.
Nah, I was with him then.
Miami 2014.
We're at the same place every day.
12.
Same pool party every day, man.
But yeah, I mean, this is without me realising, you know, some people would say you were dossing about for 2 years, which I was. Don't get us wrong, we're still working.
Yeah.
I was working in the nightclub promotion industry, if that's what you want to call it.
Selling shots topless.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So there's nightclub promotion.
In what nightclub?
And then there's selling shots in the gay bar.
Yeah, in
topless.
Powerhouse.
Powerhouse.
6 o'clock in the morning he was working till.
So I mean, look, that people look at me like, really?
Yeah.
But, you know, I've done that for about 6 years.
Yeah.
You know, and
earn some dough.
Massive dough.
Yeah.
Done really well with it. And that was sort of keeping me ticking over until I was sort of deciding what I wanted to do. And obviously being, walking about with my top off, I wanted to be in shape.
Yeah.
So this is the time of my life where I started to really see big differences in my physique because I was becoming more educated.
Time as well.
Yeah,
more
educated with how the physique works, especially with how you treat it with your nutrition and the different types of training which benefit how you look, i.e., increasing muscle mass and decreasing body fat, which as a PT, like 9 times out of 10, if I ask someone what their goals are, decrease body fat, increase muscle mass.
Yeah.
So while I was, like I said...
Everyone wants to do that, but then, well, if everyone wants that, you go and learn how to give that, basically.
Exactly.
That's why we used to call him the doctor.
With exactly the doctor.
Because this is when he started like getting savvy with what to do. So if any time I wanted to get in shape, I'm like, "Brad, what do I need to do?" He'd give me this big plan. Just a couple of months later, I'd be in better nick. Simple as that.
And without jumping ahead too far, like as a PT, I give everyone the same information, the same blueprint on how to achieve these goals, how to reduce your body fat, increase your muscle mass. It's like I give them a set of tools. There's the toolbox. There's the tools. It's how well you then use them tools. No one gets different information. I don't give Ross, a program which is different to Jay's. You get the same program, but the ones who prosper the most from it are the ones who put everything into it. And that's what it takes. It's
exactly
not
the same with teaching now. People don't cut hair.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's not a half-assed job.
Or teaching anything, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got to
teach the same thing to the two people. And them two people, one doesn't do anything with it, the other one becomes an expert in it.
Exactly.
Simple as.
And it's how well you apply yourself. And I think during this time of my life when I was seeing these differences in my physique, becoming this walking advertisement as a PT, didn't necessarily want to be a PT at the time. But then obviously people were saying, "Brad, you should train people." Just didn't know the avenue, how to get into it. And my first job as a PT, actually, it put me off. It was working for a big chain of gyms, and they had a PT structure in place, which in
Did you
my
do a bit in
opinion,
Darlow then?
Yeah, it was
that
in
was
Darlow.
when you started. Yeah. We
Excuse
don't
me.
have to name it, do we? But
Don't have to name it, but I mean
remember.
that just wasn't for me. You know, and I know a lot of PTs work out with these big gym chains, but at the time, you know, it was a bit of a poor experience for me, and that was sort of.
It's funny that, because I remember that time, but you literally, I remember thinking, why is he training to be a PT now? I thought you already won, do you know what I mean?
That's right.
You were already, your knowledge was already at a level. Too much knowledge for a beginner PT anyway.
That's it, and it was just, this was me starting the process, and once I ended it with them, that was only after about 3 months, and I had to sort of reevaluate what I wanted to do, but I had a passion for what I was doing, and I started working with a company called Aurora Athletic, which was set up by two of my friends, one of them being Mike Thurston, and that's when my PT journey truly began. It was out of a private studio in Newcastle, and that gave me the ability to work with like-minded people. And obviously Newcastle, I feel being a big city, you've got more potential for a client base. And, you know, I was using my Instagram as a promotion tool. And I mean, if you look at my Instagram, if you scroll down, you'll see countless topless pictures.
Shameless topless
Shameless.
pictures. But they're for a reason.
There are for a reason. And, you know, Instagram is a platform, and it's used for how an individual wants to perceive themselves. Yeah. And it's not as if I wanted to perceive myself as this topless douchebag, but what I wanted to get across on my Instagram is the effort that I've put in to get in shape.
Consistency as well. If you're constantly in shape, yeah, then you know what you're doing, don't you?
Not that I'm constantly in shape. I posted pictures every week looking like I was constantly in shape.
Little build-up of pictures. From,
You know what I mean? And I mean, I might have got when I was in shape, I might have took 700 pictures of me being in shape and plugged that one a week. Oh, Brad's in wicked nick. And then people see me, they'd be like, you know, you look a little bit different in person. But no, this is when, like I said,
you're definitely louder.
This is when Instagram started to sort of take off. And, you know, it was Mike who got me on the Instagram hype.
Shout out to Mike, where's he living now?
Shout out to Mike Thurston, living it up in Dubai, brother. And Mike, I mean, if anyone has any interest in the fitness industry, Mike Thurston is, you know, he's at the top.
Yeah, he's perfection, really.
He
He's about as in shape as you can get.
That's right. And Mike is one of my best pals. We ended up living together for about 4 or 5 years, working together for that time as well. And during that time, my training become heavily concentrated on bodybuilding, you know, increasing muscle mass, reducing body fat. And as a part of that process, I was getting people coming to me asking if I would prep them for competitions. So without me having a competition, a bodybuilding competition under my belt, I felt a little bit under sort of experienced to then give someone advice without doing it myself. And listen, massive respect to any bodybuilders out there who compete, you know, who are amateur, professional, you know, seasonal, because it takes a lot. And
I remember when you were doing it, like it's. Yeah. And there's a few lads that come in here that have been through it, and you just see them deplete.
It is, and
you're a big hungry head, you.
That's right. And I was, you know, I thought, right, I'm going to do this. I need to do it at least once. I'm a man of experience. I want to experience as many things as I possibly can in my lifetime, and this was one of them. And I'm glad I can say I've done it. But would I do it again? No way.
Nowhere.
No way. Don't get me wrong. The process in the beginning was really fulfilling. I had a goal. You know, it was a 12-week goal, so had a time scale. And within this 12 weeks, I had to get in the shape of my life, no matter what. You know, I had to apply myself 110% to this goal. Because just like anything, you know, if you set yourself a target and you're not fully prepared, it's you who's going to look ridiculous on the day if you're not fully prepared. So this was me for 12 weeks. This was my life revolved around this motivation, this goal to get into this stage ready shape, which, I mean, personally, it's unnatural. You know, people, for example, the likes of Mike, you know, he works very hard, but he's also extremely genetically gifted. And you can see that by his physique. He is, like I said, you know, he's in tip-top condition, perfect condition. And for me to get myself to anywhere close to that level, got to really put myself through the hardships of training twice a day, 6 days a week. On my rest day, it wouldn't be a rest day. It would be on the treadmill for an hour. And this was me for 12 weeks. Whilst doing that, I was also under-eating massively. You know, 2,500 calories for a man of my stature.
While training twice.
While training twice a day with a full diary of PT is extremely low. And like I said in the beginning, it was fulfilling because I was seeing results quick. Week by week, my body fat was dropping. You know, I was retaining my muscle mass because of the way I was training, the way I was eating. And like I said, I was really happy with the results, and I was really positive about, you know, this 12-week process and the end goal. And at about the 6-7 week mark, and you know, my body fat was really low, and there was one day I didn't feel good. I felt like shit, actually, and I just thought it was a one-off. I thought that day was a bad day, but little did I know, every single day after that was going to become more difficult. You know, starving, and it turned into a bit of an eating disorder. You know, like I was looking at myself in the mirror, obviously in the best condition that I've ever been in, top off, you know, 8 abs, shredded to bits, but I just didn't want to look at myself. I looked at myself and I thought, no, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And that was the part for me which became pretty alarming because, you know, I'm very lucky to not have any mental health issues, but this started to develop into a mental health issue. And, you know the person I am. I'm a very lively, outgoing, talkative kid. And it got to the point, you know, 8, 9, 10 weeks in, I didn't want to speak to anyone. I was depleted. You know, like...
Were you just sort of going, like, you didn't want to speak to anyone when you knew your schedule every day? Was it kind of just like you were tunnel vision, but like in hell as well?
Yeah, because I had my responsibilities as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, as soon as I got my responsibilities done, I just wanted to, you know, recluse myself in my room, you know, and watch videos. Didn't watch any porn for about 3 weeks. And in replacement of the porn was food videos. Don't get us wrong. I wasn't
torturing yourself.
I wasn't doing anything untoward.
What type of food videos?
But like I was fixated on watching these because I was just thinking, right, when this is done, this is what I'm going to eat. This is what I'm going to eat.
So you were like researching your basic cheat meals.
And you know what? It just became so tedious. And maybe I done it wrong. I probably did do it wrong. But this is again, it would have been a learning curve. If I was to do it again, I would have done it a little bit differently. And it got to the day, you know, you refeed, so you have loads of carbohydrates, you know, I had a glass of wine.
But it's not like nice carbs, is it? Aren't you just like rice crackers and shit?
Yeah, rice crackers, I had some oats,
it's
some
not
jellies.
Yeah.
Fish and rice cake.
But compared to what I was eating, this was like, overload. You know, some wine before I went on stage.
Why is that? Just to dehydrate you?
To dehydrate. I mean, my coach said, don't do that. But I was like, fuck it, I'm on some wine. Everyone else was on wine. And this was in...
Cheers, son.
This was for a competition in London called the WBFF. And it was a great experience. But I was obviously getting ready with everyone else. And because I was full, like obviously feeding myself, I was back to normal Brad. And, you know, I was trying to crack on with everyone that was there. And obviously everyone was in the same boat. Everyone was competing. But no one wanted to talk to me. Everyone was like, who is this idiot?
Get this fucking pissed idiot away from me.
He's
on the wine.
Idiot? And like, you know, I went on for my first bit, you know, and listen, for me, it's, you know, it's not me jumping on stage with a tight pair of trunks on.
Nah,
what was your
doing all this.
what were you wearing? Was it the thong or was it the board
it wasn't
shorts?
the thong, mate.
Board shorts.
Board shorts,
it's
mate. No,
not so
it wasn't
What's
board
a
shorts. It
board
was like
shorts?
Oh,
it
just
was
the
trunks,
little pads.
Trunks, mate. trunks, right? That would have looked well in Miami.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I went out for my first bit, and look, again, it was for the experience. I think there was 50 guys in my class. They only called out the top 5. I'd never expected to place. And I got through it. I went out to my first bit, and then I didn't go back out for the second showing because that was me done.
Right.
But that was me, that goal was completed. And, you know, even if I did place, I wouldn't have done it again because it was just too much physical and mental stress. But from that, obviously, I went through that experience, and then I could pass my knowledge onto other people who were willing to compete. And if anyone is listening to this now who is thinking about competing, prepare yourself. If you are going to apply yourself fully, it does get difficult, but you will not find a better motivation to get yourself in shape than put yourself forward for a physique competition. But it's not easy. And
I mean, you can sense how intense Brad is now, Jay. Like you can imagine when he sets when he sets his mind to something, which as long as I've known him, he like goes and does it. But for that, I remember seeing him go through that, and he changed. He was
sounds like pure
different.
absolute hell.
How long have you stuck to a diet for, Jay?
Less than 6 hours.
6 hours, it's not bad that though, mate.
It's
That's when
decent.
you're asleep, is it?
I don't sleep longer than 6 hours. 2 or 3 hours a night.
Yeah, it's difficult. But obviously, that prepared you. I mean, the amount of strength you must have took from that.
That's it, because again, it also proved to me that I can apply myself. I can put myself in a dark place and still thrive. You know, I had to function. I had to work.
Yeah.
Had to make money. You know, if I didn't work, I didn't make money. I didn't sustain myself. Didn't sustain my living. So to put myself through that and still earn a living, and obviously my personality was diminished, but I made it. I done it. I got through it, and that experience for me holds a lot of value, because from that moment, you know, I said to myself, you know, if I can apply myself to this, I can apply myself to anything. And it's how much you put into something, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, you know, Ross, like, you know, you're doing well with your barbers, but if it was a half-assed effort, you wouldn't have this now.
No.
You know, you'd be doing probably home calls and that's it. But because you've applied yourself, look what you've got.
Yeah.
And you only want to strive for more. And that's a sort of mentality that sort of instilled with me. But I also want to instill it into, you know, any clients that come in, especially the younger lads who have just started with me. And, you know, when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And people might not know what they want to do at that age. But what I would like to get across is, no matter what you do, make sure it's right for you, but also put 100% in. For me, it's all or nothing. You know, it's go hard or go home.
I think people will be able to tell that from the first few minutes of us speaking. But I tell you what's a good one there, when you're saying about, like, you didn't know what you wanted to do at 18, 19, 20. I was exactly the same, right? But you get thrown into things, and especially living in a local town like this, your age is quite a big thing, or people think it is. Obviously, I've lived in Newcastle for 5-6 years. I kind of got the city living mentality where age means fucking nothing.
It doesn't.
Obviously in Darlington there's a little bubble where it is like people do have kids and families a lot younger, and that's fair enough, absolutely fine, but some people then feel pressured that they're supposed to be on that path as well. But you know yourself, working with people in Newcastle, people could be in the mid-30s still figuring out what they're going to do.
Exactly.
And I just think, like, people need to know, do not panic.
You know, and as well, great point there, Ross, because as Father Time, it's not as if I'm at the end of my days now, but I've sort of looked at myself and thought, you know what, you know, I'm 29, you know, I'm still single. This was when I was 29.
Yeah.
29.
I thought I was going to have to play along.
But no, when I was 29, you know, I was still single, and, you know, I was doing well with my PT, but I still feel I didn't have an end goal, an end drive, or, you know, what I thought was my vision of myself when I was 30 just wasn't panning out, and it started to stress me out a little bit. But again, what I've realised, there's no time limit on your individual success. You know, there's no time limit. You know, people make
success
it in
or
20s,
happiness,
30s,
happiness
40s, 50s.
as well. Yeah.
And that is a major part.
Yeah.
You know, I make sure I do the things that make me happy. I work hard for, you know, to do the things that I enjoy and make me happy. And that's the balance you've got to find.
Yeah, because I mean, I seen a post that you put the other day that it was a flashback of when you started your MMA career, and you thought you were too old then, and you're still smashing it now.
That's it. So the MMA, I mean, that was such a 180 turn, you know, like going from bodybuilding into MMA at the age of 29. Like, first of all, you know, coming into let me just explain the reason why I'd done that. As a Raw Athletic, we all went off in different directions. Mike moved to London, and then I got an opportunity through one of my best pals, Tommy Quinn. I was actually didn't have a place to stay. My tenancy was running out on my current place, and Tommy said, "Look, I've got a place, I've got a room." So I moved in with Tommy, and I started PTing out of what was the Bad Boy Training Centre in Gateshead, Newcastle. And I was just going to be a PT there. But then, because I was then surrounded by MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know, MMA athletes, professional MMA athletes, it sort of tweaked my interests, you know. And like I said, I'm a man who is always looking for good new experiences.
Speaking of new experiences, just before we jump into this, the new, like, that bit, was there a job you were doing alongside your PT in there?
Yeah, believe it or not, there is. I mean, I wanted to try and keep that one under wraps, like.
Right, we'll carry on then.
I mean, no, I'll be fully transparent. Lots of that people don't know, but like, as I was a PT, I was working, you know, in the powerhouse selling shots, but that sort of then again springboarded me into becoming a male stripper, which
again, I mean,
I didn't know. No,
you don't know that, mate.
Nah, fuck.
So listen, before we jump into the MMA, we might as well. That's exactly what it's like.
He'd love it. You want that there out, trust me.
So yeah, I mean, that was again something which I never planned. You know, what started as me being a picture boy for the Adonis Cabaret, and you know, the first shift I worked, don't get us wrong, it was an absolute frisk. I was like, this is incredible. You know, hundreds of girls screaming at these fellas getting the kit off, but I was watching the fellas get the kit off, and I was like, I would never do that. I would never do that, like, because obviously, you know, from the moment you become a picture boy, that's the sort of pressure, but they want to push you, you know, they've got you involved, you know, like, I was in shape, you know, not a bad looking lad, but I can't dance. You know, and I was looking at the rods of some of these guys, and I was like, I'm not matching up to that, like.
Basically, his best mate was called Adam Conda.
There we go.
Yeah.
So a big shout out to Adam Khalil, Adam Conda.
Hey up, Adam. And I tell you what, you think I'm a big stiff man, you want to see him dance about, man. We went to, me and Callum went to see one of his shows, right? And we sat there, and we sat with all the girls and stuff, and we're all watching, and then, like, you get his kit off, and I'm like, this is weird, this. Because he's like my big brother, man. And then he's getting, I'm like, Callum, come on, let's go. I'm not finishing this, like, I'm off.
I'm glad you left, like.
Yeah. Before that, Adam Conda, he came over, because he's seen as he comes over to me, he's got an England flag in front of my face, and he's just flicking his dick, and like, the flag's just going, boom.
And that, boom. That's the Conda for you. That's the Conda.
I don't want to imagine the Conda. I don't want to imagine the Conda.
What a wild individual as well.
I tell you what, he'd be good for this.
So yeah, I mean, we could spend a couple of hours talking about this journey. Yeah. But eventually,
I just wanted to touch
I got groomed into doing it. But no, you know, once I did it, you know,
by a man who looked like this.
I know. But once I did it, like, again, I mean, I'm a thrill seeker. You know, I love adrenaline. I love nerves. I like things that make me nervous. And
walking onto stage and walking into the octagon.
Yeah, well, that's another thing.
Similar thrill or not?
It is. Well, it is. Believe it or not, mate, it is similar. It's spiking the same chemicals in your body. And once I done it once, I was like, that was epic. Didn't know what I was doing. Just winged it. But the birds were buzzing at the end, so I was like,
must have done something like that.
Yes. Because obviously
the chopper's all right.
I don't know where that goes. So the biggest fear is obviously going on and being a flop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But not like going on, doing your bit, and like, you know, the girl's like, oh, what's just happened there?
Can you quickly explain the secret to make you thing dig?
Unfortunately, no, that's an industry secret.
Industry
you know,
secret.
that's an industry
Right,
secret.
we'll go on from that.
But there is a way, don't worry. If anyone's thinking about getting into stripping and they're worried about the size of the just the naturel, there's a way to do it just to help you a bit more. Give us a DM, I'll maybe tell you if you're interested in that one. So
right.
yeah, I mean, look, I got
New
into
experiences, loved it.
loved it, and I mean,
Bit of cash at the end of the day as well.
this is going to be a first right here. This is the first exclusive, but I've actually made a recent transfer. The transfer window opened during lockdown, and I've transferred from the Adonis Cabaret, which I've got the utmost respect for. I've had some great times in my life there, and I'm actually now a dream boy.
Oh, no way.
So
What an exclusive that is.
that's an exclusive, Rossi.
Simply Rogue podcast bringing out exclusives.
So yeah, that's
Class.
that venture starts in June, and again, I mean, I'm no spring chicken. I'm not going to be a 40-year-old stripper, but I am going to give it one last little run.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to say that I ended as a dream boy.
Yeah, I think fucking hell. Like, if you can be a dream boy, isn't it?
Even
like,
I know what they are.
Yeah, man,
it's
fucking
big,
hell.
innit?
Like,
So look, this is
good on you.
Again, this is what I wanted to, I don't know, like, I just like to get my fingers
Putting
as
your
many
full
pies
putting
as
your full
possible.
effort into things, it takes you places.
That's it, it
Go to the
does.
top of the stripper.
So anyway, back to the MMA.
Yeah, back to the manlier stuff.
So yeah, I started to work out at the Bad Boy Training Centre, moved in with Tommy Quinn, and straight away spiked my interest, you know, especially if I look at something, I look at it, I think I can do it, but even if I'm useless at it, I like putting myself in that deep end. Just like what I said at the beginning, the magic happens outside the comfort zone, and I was massively outside my comfort zone when I jumped into MMA. And 2 weeks into the jiu-jitsu classes, the coach, Ryan Roddy, again, he won the first season of SAS, Who Dares Wins. So a great coach. And again, the mindset that he had, I managed to sort of see the tough mindset that Ryan had. And again, I wanted to apply that to myself, which again is worked because he was a tough coach, but I love that. And 2 weeks into learning jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, he said, do you want to jump into a competition? And I said, mate, I don't know anything. And bear in mind, I'm a 105 kilogram bodybuilder, you know, going into a jiu-jitsu class, you know, looking the business, looking massive. You know, people probably looked at me and thought, wow, the size of him.
Because you were bigger then at the beginning than you are now, innit?
But that didn't mean a thing. I had kids 60, 70 kilograms throwing me around like a wet towel. And it was a very humbling experience because for someone with obviously, you know, half of my size to then have the ability to manipulate me and, you know, tap me out and make me feel terribly uncomfortable, that was a massive wake-up call to me saying, I am terrible at this. I want to improve. And that was a long process, you know, like being the shape I was for one purpose, and that's to push, you know, weight A to B or raw.
Do you know that big block though when you start something new and you get that like it's horrible really, the beginning of learning something new, all your like fears come out and stuff, and you for me especially, I get this block where I'm just like, nah, I want to fuck it off.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
But you just stick around long enough to just get past that, and that's like you say,
Great.
it's where the magic happens.
You've put it well there, and that's a message.
Just stick
to
around.
anyone.
You don't even have to force through it. Just stay there.
Persistence.
Just persist
Like
with
trying
it.
to teach me how to hold my scissors.
Exactly.
Fuck off.
How patient do I have to be with you there?
Listen, you're gonna
Hard work.
persist.
Yeah,
It
but
comes
now,
out though,
but
doesn't
now
it?
look.
Yeah,
Now
it
look.
comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. So yeah, you know, I got thrown into this jiu-jitsu. Well, I didn't get thrown in. I accepted my coach's offer to put me in this jiu-jitsu competition, and I actually got gold medals in my class. Super heavyweight it was. So that was the beginning. You know, that really spiked my interest saying, hold on, I didn't know anything. I've just sort of got through that through my physical attributes. Let's see what I can do with it. And mate, this
started
next
the new
2
journey.
years of my life, like I look back at it now, And I'm like, wow, what a thing to put myself through, because I stated my interest straight away that I wanted to get into MMA. That was the end goal. I've always had an interest in combat sports, and even when I was a teenager, I wanted to do something, whether it was boxing, kickboxing. I just never got a chance. My career path took me down the path it did, which turned out obviously the bodybuilding side. But now this was the opportunity. I was working out of a gym which had a stable of pro MMA athletes, and not just pro MMA athletes, athletes at the top of the game. If anyone's seen Tommy Quinn in action, he's a skilled striker, top level Bellator, and on top of his striking, he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu now. He got that just before he went to Bali. And his all-round MMA game is impeccable. Joe Calbutin,
animal.
Look, I've never
Monster.
I've obviously experienced a lot of physical guys in my time as a personal trainer or working in an MMA gym, but Joe is by far the most freakish athlete that I have ever encountered. Like, he can do things that I've never seen before. And he's only a young cub. He's 22. Sorry, Joe, if that's wrong, mate, I do apologise.
Is he only in his early 20s?
22, 23,
It's
I think.
fucking massive.
Oh, no.
And then the man leading the charge, Richie Knox,
Sensei.
who was my coach. And if anyone's from Newcastle or even the Northeast, they'll know who Richie Knox is. And a tried and tested pro MMA athlete, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And if anyone has an idea about combat sports, to achieve your black belt is a massive feat. And I've been under his tutelage.
Animal.
And Richie is not just a skilled, jiu-jitsu practitioner, a boxer, a kickboxer, a Thai boxer, a wrestler. He's a big unit, 70
What's he like to do to you on your birthday?
Well, if you go far back enough, as a birthday treat, he kicks me in the leg. And he doesn't hold back like that. Doesn't hold back.
It looks horrific.
But as soon as Richie took me on board, and I was blessed to have him come and say, look, I'm gonna take you under my wing. That was the beginning of me sort of becoming a competent MMA practitioner. I went from a bodybuilder who couldn't keep his hands up to actually getting a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Hopefully I'm going to be pushing for my purple soon. Learning how to strike, learning how to grapple. And I've got now 8 fights under my belt. But that process to get to these fights, I had to go through hell.
So no one was saying about age as well there. So how old were you when it was 2 years ago?
29.
Yeah.
So 29 when I started doing that jiu-jitsu competition.
In the last couple of years, even though you'd already reached a good level in your personal training career, how much personal growth have you gone through in the last couple of years?
This last 3 years of my life has been the biggest spike in personal growth that I've ever experienced so far to this date. And I'll tell you the reasons why. I've got my feathers in the cap, or the stripes on my belt, from my bodybuilding, my physique sort of work, as a personal trainer. But now learning all these different segments of martial arts, first of all, I was just a student. But over time, I became competent in boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and it's opened up another avenue of teaching. So now I can teach all of them disciplines, foundation level for sure. But to get there was very difficult. And I'll tell you a story. My first it was a baptism of fire. So when Rich approached me in the gym and said, look, I want to take you under my wing. He was like, look, if you want to spar with a bigger guy, he was like, we'll do some rounds. Bear in mind, I knew who Richie was before I met him, and I knew he was a top level MMA athlete. And I know a lot of guys who have trained with him throughout the years. And when they knew I was training out of the Bad Boy Training Centre and started to train with Rich, everyone said to me, do not spar with Richie Knox. And I just kept on hearing this over and over again. So when he came up to me and he was like, yeah, we'll do some rounds together. Obviously, the pride within was like, yeah, we'll do some rounds, mate, yeah. afterwards I was like, what have I done? Anyway, so the day came, and obviously I knew I was in for a hard time, and he knew that as well. And the cage door closed. The timer was set to 5 minutes. I was going for 3 rounds, 5 minutes with Richie Knox, obviously shitting myself. And the last words he said before that beeper went off was, "It'll never be as bad as this."
Shit.
No matter what
Open
you
the door.
do,
Get me out of that
Get
cage.
the door open now.
no matter what you do in your MMA career, it will never be as bad as this.
And has it been as bad as this?
Well, I mean, only from him.
Yeah.
Only from him on different occasions, but like, I mean, yeah. I mean, look, he done that for a reason. Like, he wasn't just doing it to beat me up. He was introducing me to what it is to be a fighter. You know, it's not a game of tiddlywinks. You know, you don't play it. You know, if you're having a fight, you're having a fight. And I think in that 15 minutes, he wanted to show me how uncomfortable and how terrible, you know, you can, you know, play the terrible places you can be put in a fight. And it's
bad, yeah.
Anxiety inducing, you're panicking, you know, you're not just gassing from obviously the exertion, but you're getting mounted by an 18-stone beast, black belt, punched in the face. You know, do you think you'd panic a little bit?
Yeah, 100%.
Panic.
Fuck that.
I play dead like that.
I know. So, I mean, this was, you know, like I said, this was the...
I'm out. I'm dead, man.
This was the baptism of fire, but then
Yeah.
that introduced me to the reality of it. And, you know, I'm thankful. There's, you know, I say it all the time, there's always a lesson in a hiding, you know, and from that day, it sort of introduced me to the reality of...
Finding gratitude in adversity.
Mate,
Massive.
That is mint.
Massive.
Sound like me there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the beginning, and you know, since then it's been a constant learning process, and for me that's the glory with martial arts. No matter how good you get, you will never be done learning. You know, like each segment of martial arts has a broad pool of learning. And still,
you see it in the UFC, don't you?
That's it.
Someone at the top of the game comes in, gets wiped out by someone who's just learnt something better than them.
That's
or
it.
To combat it.
And 3 years in, you know, I still feel I'd probably go from the word dipping my toes. I maybe got my ankles in now. But yeah, I mean, last year...
You've seen the difference in you, Brad, like the last couple of years. Like, you've just like, I don't know, it's just not the intensity, but just like you've just got so much more about you in the last couple of years in regards to just life in general.
That's right.
And obviously this has give you it.
And I think, yeah, I think that's a part of, again, broadening my horizons, you know, working with different people, opening up my consciousness. I don't want to go too deep into that, but, you know, reading, you know, outside of the spectrum of what we get taught from the mainstream, broadening your mind.
So do you think like being in martial arts has pushed you on to more self-development with
100%.
Education as well?
And one thing, yeah, definitely, because, I mean, this even, you know, not that I've got aspirations to be a world champ. You know, I'm realistic. You know, I've started the game late. I'm going to give it the best possible run I can give it. But I know I'm not going to do this for too long. There's too much stress on the body. But the things I will take out of this is the mindset that I've developed to get involved in martial arts, to jump into a fight, and it's called the fighter's mentality. You know, never give up, always persist, and that can be related to anything you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, something as small as a hobby, you know, something as important as your career, and that is something I will carry with me until the day I'm done.
Yeah.
Fighter's mentality, never giving, keep on pushing, keep on striving for better. And, you know, it's a mindset that I would like to pass on to others. So anyone sort of under my wing as a client, I'll always try and breed positivity, positive mindset. And not that I'm a success story, you know, my success story is very much in its infancy. You know, I'm doing all right for myself, but it's nowhere near where I want to be. And again, it's a work in progress.
And some people would say that it's like late for you to get this kind of ambition, but you're just showing it isn't. Like what's happened in 2 years, man, it's
never too late.
This is what I want to really instill in people, that time is nothing.
time is nothing. You've got all the time in the world. You can be in your 40s, in the same routine, and yeah, you might have you've got obviously responsibilities, but just devote a little bit of time to something that you feel will better yourself. And if you want to, I don't know, if you want to have a little change in your career, like dip your toes in, and if you like it, if you think it's going to work, just go for it. A lot of people, when I first said, I'm gonna have a go at this MMA, a lot of people were like, Brad, man, why?
Did that almost
why would you do that?
Fuel you though?
Of course it fueled me, because I wanted to do it. And with that comes the pressure. Like, it's all good and well training for a fight, putting yourself through the process, which is a very difficult process. But then there's the actual fight. You've got to step in there with all these demons on your shoulder. What if this happens? What if you get knocked out cold in front of your friends and your family?
Although you've prepared to be like the biggest, like the best you can be in that moment, it's almost the most vulnerable you'll ever be, isn't it?
The most vulnerable. Because, look, I have always felt like for all the fights that I've had, that my team's there. My team is there. And I wouldn't have got there without my team. But when that door closes, yes, your team's in your corner, but you are on your own, and
but then when you've been prepared with Richie, and it's not going to be as bad as this, and then you find out actually it isn't as bad as that. I'm ready to rock now.
Another thing about Rich as well, he knows the game inside and out, and he knows all the demons that are going through your head, and he knows how to quash them demons through his words. And every single time that I've stepped into the ring or the cage, honestly, there could be 10 men, there could be 20 men in there. From the words he puts into my ear, he gets us absolutely buzzing for whatever. And whatever the task ahead, I am fully mentally prepared through his words, through his motivation. And that's why I count myself very lucky to have such a skilled coach in every aspect of the game. And very grateful. And like I said, this is me still, I'm dipping my ankles into this. I've had six amateur bouts. I've had one pro MMA bout. I've had one boxing bout. And last year was meant to be the run, or the start of the run of my pro rules MMA career. Obviously, for obvious reasons, it's been postponed, but that starts again. It started now. The training's getting done, and hopefully,
are you hoping to get a fight soon?
Don't want to mention anything just yet, but
yeah.
there's a possible fight in the works for August against a top opponent. And I say that because I'm under no illusion. Out of the 8 fights that I've had, only 2 have been a challenge. And
there was quite a few last-minute change-ups, wasn't there?
That's right. And I mean, look, for whatever reason...
see a picture of Brad and they go, fuck that.
That's it. People pull out, and then I'll get a replacement, but a replacement will be what they call a journeyman. So I'm someone who's there to be paid in case someone drops out, or someone there just not to make up the numbers, because that's a career for people. But if you're a journeyman and you're fighting every week, when you jump in the cage, when you jump in the cage with someone, you don't want to be in there for 15 minutes having a war, So a few of them have ended pretty quick, which obviously I get the victory, it's a nice feeling. But I've prepared 12 weeks to go into battle, and to walk through someone within 10 seconds. Like I said, it's nice to get the win.
Did you ever feel that? Because Tyson used to go on about that, where he's knocked someone out in like 30 seconds and he's trained for that long. He's coming off and he's like, I'm going to kill someone still.
Yeah.
Are you still hyped up a bit?
The thing is, the difference between me and Tyson, Tyson's knocking out fucking, high-level competitors.
Not journeymen.
But I mean, to walk through them within 10 seconds, that's 12 weeks of my effort put in. And like I said, the win's good. But on the flip side, the 2 bouts which have been a test, one in particular against an Irish lad called Brian Draper. Big shout to Brian, top guy. Again, that was my second bout, and again, that was baptism of fire. Brian, I think he had a bit more experience than me. It was at heavyweight, so I'm not a natural heavyweight. I fight at 93 kilos. That's light heavyweight. Anything above is heavy. But we had a catch weight bout at 100, and I think Brian had a lot of kickboxing experience prior to me. This was my second bout. The first bout that I had, was a Journeyman. It lasted 10 seconds. Wasn't even really ready for that fight, to be honest, but I got the win. And then, I was matched against Brian. All the demons were on my shoulders again. What you doing? Why are you fighting this kid? He's got more experience. And a bit of a funny story about that, actually, because I was obviously very hyped for this. This is my first proper fight. It was the MTK, which the Bad Boy Training Centre changed to MTK Newcastle about 3 years ago now. So it was an MTK show in Tynemouth. And I was getting warmed up, obviously hyped to the max. Richie just gave his war words to me, and I was ready to go through anything. And there was a partition between the two camps, so obviously the blue corner, the red corner. And while we were getting warmed up in one, the other camp was getting warmed up in the other. And the first thing, one of the coordinators, Kieran Kettle, ex-world Muay Thai champ, came up to me and he was like, "Brad, take this kid down." And I was like, all right, sound, cheers, Kieran. Anyway, then Richie comes up to me and said, listen, bro, we're gonna push him against the fence and we're gonna take him down. I was like, all right, sound. And then me boxing coach, Gary Barr, ex-amateur #1 in the country, big shout to Gary as well. He comes up to me and is like, listen, Brad, take this kid down. And I was like, why is everyone telling me to take this kid down? I've been working on me striking. I want to strike. Apparently, I didn't know this at the time, but they've all sort of peeped round and they've seen Brian on the pads and he's linking these combinations together. Pop, 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 pop. Obviously, much better than me as a striker. And they've all looked at him and thought,
this was their way of telling you.
Brad has got to take this man down or he's going to get punched to bits.
Pick the head around like that. Oh.
Shit.
And again, I mean, this was my first proper MMA bout, so my adrenaline was through the roof. Like too high. If you watch the video, like I'm jumping about like a lunatic,
exerting energy,
burning all my energy before I get in there, and it kicks off, and I am just wild. I run at him, I try to head kick him, I fall over,
I'll strike him, me.
I land on my ass straight away, and then I'm just biting down on my gum shield, literally for 9 minutes, swinging bombs at Brian. And Brian is just absorbing all these shots, tough as they come, Brian. And I was 100%. Obviously you've got to go in burst of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
now
on the 6th gear from start to finish, right? Going out with the first round, only 3-minute rounds.
Sounds like you in the barbershop, to be honest, Jay.
I was like that, on the cage. Richie was like, calm down. Just calm down a bit. Anyway, look, it worked. I was just, trying my best. I wanted to put him away. But like I said, Brian, as tough as they come, couldn't put him away. And as I started to fatigue, my hands started to drop. And he kept on clipping us with this it was a big left hook. And he kept on clipping me on the same spot. And my eye afterwards, I looked like the Elephant Man. But yeah, that was my first baptism of fire. And I respect Brian so much for that, because that has been my probably one and only true test. But I learned a lot about myself in that
Probably
fight.
Learned more than in that one than any
100%. And I've always got that with me. I also learned a lot about my pace. So first of all, if I want to go 100% for the full 9 or 15 minutes, I can. Thank God. But I think if I conserve my energy, it bursts, and that's what I'll be doing next time.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago now. So there's been a lot of learning done in that 2 years. And my last fight or MMA bout was 2019 against a big giant called Rob Clark. Respect to him also. And that was the start of my MMA career, and then COVID hit. So 2021, I'm going to give it a run, see how I get on.
Yeah.
And then, look, I'll do it for as long as I can, as long as possible, or until I feel it's right. And then my energy, my massive amounts of energy, I've got to go somewhere else.
So, like, speaking of energy there, so, like, obviously people can see what I've seen in you in the last fucking whatever years. What fires that? What gets you up in the morning?
So, first of all, I think what is an initial issue with all this energy that I've got. It's not diagnosed, but I think I've got ADHD. So
Right.
I am hyperactive. And if you
Sound
observe
familiar,
me,
Jay?
I'm not.
No comment.
If you observe me, I'm not normal in that sense. But what drives me, I mean,
Obviously,
just-
you've constantly throughout your life set goals, periodically, and you've generally hit them as well. So I mean, you're constantly doing something rather physical, mental, martial arts wise. So obviously,
I've got to have a purpose. I've got to have a purpose to exist. And
do you write these down and that?
going back to the goals, it's very important to have goals. And I say to all my clients, write them down, because then it becomes real. It's all I think in your head, oh, I want to do this, I want to achieve this. But thoughts, you know, the sporadic that come and go, you know, if you're serious about something, write it down and work towards that goal with tunnel vision. And, you know, like I said, a lot of it, I want to experience as much as possible. But anything I apply myself to, I want to be as good as I possibly can in that, whatever it is, whether it's physical activity, you know, work related, even hobbies. I want to be as good as I possibly can. And, you know, I preach this to a lot of my clients as well. You know, people come to me saying, yeah, I want to build muscle mass, lose body fat. I want to learn a bit of boxing. But what I want to preach to my clients is be the best possible version of yourself. Yeah, it's all right building loads of muscle mass and bench pressing 200 kilograms, but if you can't walk up a flight of stairs without getting out of breath, then there's a bit of an issue there.
Yeah.
You know, so...
This is something I hit on the other week as well. It was be the best version of you in everything, though.
Exactly.
Not just one-dimensional, every single thing. And it's funny you said about like writing things down and that, which is, I've got one quite good one, was when I was in Australia doing a bit of backpacking and that. I started thinking I want my own barbershop. So I drew the picture of a barbershop, put my sign on the front and stuff like that, wrote my targets down and all that, took that in my backpack, didn't think about it for nearly a year. A year later, I find it. And in that year, I'd got my first barbershop, and the picture I drew had the same window and the same door, and even the letterbox was in the same place.
Mate,
do you know what I mean?
I love that. That is
so
incredible.
when I look back, I was like, fuck. But obviously it manifested in my mind, and whatever happened. But
the power of positivity, positive thinking, manifesting, that is true, that is real. You know, if it happens to me regular, if I'm in a negative mindset, you know, and I've just, you know, I've got myself in a little paddy about whatever it is, you know, this is on the flip side. Bad things happen to me, you know, like if I'm in a negative mindset, then I don't know, I might tread in dog shite.
yeah.
Get in my car, got dog shite over my car, and then I might get into a close call crash. And unless I get my mind out of that fettle that it's in, it doesn't reverse.
What a great word.
That, yeah, fettle. But it's true, like,
Yeah.
and, you know, a negative mindset, negativity breeds negativity, just as positivity breeds positivity, you know, and not everyone can remain positive all the time, you know, but if you think positively and think what you want to achieve, write it down and believe that you're going to achieve that, then it's going to happen. It's going to manifest.
So when you are having a bit of a negative, shitty few days, what is your sort of thing that gets you out of it?
So no matter how stressful the situation is, you know, and everyone experiences, you know, degrees of stress. You know, if it's something which is really bothering me, I will always say to myself, right, I'm going to give myself a maximum of 1 day to let this really eat me up. I'll give it that time of day, because during that time it does offer me a lot of time to think and how I'm going to get myself, you know, how do I better this situation? I'll let it eat me up for a day. While it's eating me up, there's nothing I can do to better myself. But the day after, I wake up, the stressor is still there, but I just think about it differently. I approach it differently and work towards solving the problem. I'm a problem solver. And, you know, without a doubt, I will solve that problem. And then it's on to the next, and just remain, you know, keeping a positive mindset.
Yeah, I allow myself to sulk.
Yeah,
like,
you need it.
This week I did it, like three things happened this week, which went from me, I know now my levels, but I went from flying to, it just crushed me a little bit and I couldn't help it. My brain just started going, nah. And then I just sort of allowed myself one night to fully sulk. Didn't look at my phone, didn't do now. I vented, I wrote it all down, wrote why I'm fucking pissed off and all that. And then again, woke up next morning, still shit, but in a different mindset to get out of it.
That's me.
Yeah,
I couldn't have put it any better myself.
Yeah.
And going back to what gets you out of bed to succeed, you know, I want to put this across very carefully, because I don't think you should gauge your own success off other people's success. You know, because other people have been through different paths. You know, people have got to where they are who are successful through hard work. So you shouldn't look at someone, you know, they've got a wicked car or they've got a wicked house and say, well, I want that. Why have I got that? And start sulking about that. You've got to look at yourself, what your skills, what your abilities are, and plan out how are you going to get to where he is or she is. And, you know, I work with a lot of successful people, you know, my boss who, the gym is under the umbrella of the High Street Group, and his name is Gary Forrest. And Gary has just built the Hadrian's Tower in Newcastle. And if anyone hasn't been there yet, you've got the biggest skyscraper in the northeast of England, and you've got a champagne bar at the top. And on top of that, he's got numerous buildings around the country, restaurants, bars, hotels. And for me, that is the ultimate success. You know, if you're owning and building restaurants, bars, hotels, that is big time.
Yeah.
Madness. And I wouldn't look at Gary and say, well, I want to do that now, you know. And don't expect me to start changing the landscape of the northeast of England. But there is specific ways that I can start creeping up that ladder in my own way. And, you know, over the next, you know, medium term, long term, that's what I'm going to try and do. And like I said, don't compare yourself or look at someone and compare your success to theirs, because every individual is different. And yeah, use other people as motivation rather than sulking about what they've got.
Yeah,
rather, you know, and what you don't.
While you're looking at other people, using them as motivation, be thankful for what you've already got, and just literally as you go up the tiers, just every time, just be thankful for each and everything you've got, and
Love
just
that,
the gratitude is the key to happiness. Simple
Love
as,
that, mate.
simple
Yes.
as. So use them as motivation. Don't be bitter. Be thankful. Be happy, and just aim for things, and you'll get there when you vision them and write them down.
Definitely. And balance as well. You know, let's go back to balance. Because it's all right working your tits off and running yourself into the ground, working towards a specific goal. But if you're just doing that and your life is consumed by that, then there's no quality of life, you know. So give yourself breaks. Do the things you enjoy doing. You know, this is very relevant to me as a PT, because I am, you know, I preach balance. You know, I am an advocate of balance. You know, you know me, Ross. Like, obviously I train, I work hard, but I also enjoy myself.
Yeah,
I also
travel the world.
I enjoy a beer. You know, like, yeah, I enjoy drinking heavily on weekends now and then.
The only one person who out drinking, will give him a shout out, Liam Clark. Oh. You know what he's like.
I'm not even going to argue with that. Like,
yeah, but he can drink.
I can drink. And look, that is obviously, as a personal trainer, as an MMA athlete, as a bodybuilder, that is extremely counterproductive to my goals. But I enjoy doing it. So, you know, as long as it's not all the time, you know, once every week, every 2 weeks, having a couple of drinks, you know, that's what I enjoy doing. So I'm going to give myself time to do that. I've earned that drink. I've earned that pizza. I've earned that food, whatever I want to do. And that's what I work hard for, the things that I enjoy doing.
But we're not one-dimensional. We've got so many different personalities that you need to feed. And if going out and having a blowout is one of them, fucking don't beat yourself up about it. Just go and do it. Do it to the best of your ability.
Don't eat that.
Because you do. Yeah.
I think a lot of my clients are pretty shocked when they say, you know, they're like, I'm going out this week, but I'm not going to drink. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, I'm training, Anna. I'm like, get yourself a pint in your man. He's like, really? I'm like, well, PT's orders.
No, but I mean, we haven't even scraped the surface with your life there, mate. But like, you've lived an event for one, and I think I just want to show off like your intensity towards goals and just life in general, man. It's been absolutely amazing having you on, mate. And like, I hope people have just got something out of this, and you just live life to the full, and you've so much more to come.
What an honour to be brought on to talk about myself. I mean, I do talk a lot. I don't like to talk about myself too much, but you know,
this is the opportunity to do so. That's what it's about.
Exactly.
And we love doing it.
And I don't want to come on and say, oh, look what I'm doing. You know, that's not the purpose behind this. I want to come on and breathe this positive mindset that I've got. I want people to understand it's never too late to start reaching out towards your goals. And, you know, hard work, you know, through hard work, anything is possible, but you've got to be persistent. You've got to be persistent. You've got to keep on striving towards your goals. You know, you're going to get shot down. You're going to come, you know, against hurdles and walls, but you've just got to keep on moving forward. That's the only way forward.
Exactly, and what a message to kind of wrap it up on.
Definitely.
And yeah, thank you for coming on. Everyone who, if they don't follow you already, we'll tag you in it and all that. But you're like this on a daily basis on your Instagram and stuff like that. So you're meant to sort of follow and keep people motivated and stuff. And you've also helped so many people with your personal training as well. So you do what you've been saying. You've done it for years as well. So you are changing the landscape a little bit yourself by doing that. You're pushing other people's potential. So it's just an amazing, mate. It's amazing to have you on.
Really appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, and just
Thank
keep
you
doing what
very
you're
much.
doing.
We'll
Yeah.
give you 5 bucks.
Right. Cheers, boys. Thanks a lot.